Zone and all things Cayman. I am here at the Government Administration Building in Grand Cayman. I'm very honored to have at the Phoenix Zone today Her Excellency the Governor of the Cayman Islands, Mrs. Jane Owen. Good morning, Your Excellency.
Good morning, Phoenix. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. Yeah, thank you.
I'm very honored to have on the Phoenix Zone today Her Excellency the Governor of the Cayman Islands, Mrs. Jane Owen. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining the Phoenix Zone.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Phoenix. It's great to be here.
Before we get into our conversation about your role and your responsibilities as governor, could you please tell me a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yes, so I grew up in the United Kingdom in a small industrial town quite near to Birmingham. I guess a lot of your listeners may have been to Birmingham. It's a little town called Bilston. My mum and dad had the local toy shop, so you can imagine how much fun that was when I was growing up. I was often working in the toy shop, putting things on the shelves, displaying things on the windows, and at Christmas it was particularly nice because we would have to keep some of the toys that we were going to deliver to all of the kids, big and small, and we would keep them all in our house, and then I would go out on deliveries with my dad. Then after school and university, I joined the Foreign Office, so I've actually been working in the same institution for like more than 35 years now.
So I heard the word diplomat before. So what does a diplomat do?
Yeah, so I guess a diplomat represents their country and goes out talking to the other countries with whom we have relationships and tries to find the best way to put across the views of your home country. So in my case, put across the views of the United Kingdom and to try to find the best ways to work with countries all around the world.
So before you became governor, what was the reason you wanted to become governor, and what was the process of becoming governor?
Yeah, so I was just coming to the end of my job in Switzerland, where I was the British ambassador. So I was living in Bern in the Swiss capital and wondering what I was going to do next. And I started to get very interested in the kind of role that a governor has, which is in some ways a little bit similar to an ambassador, but in many ways it's quite different, and it's a bigger role, and it has a different feel to it, because really you are the representative of the king in these islands, and very much working in partnership in a much more substantive way than you would be if you were just representing the UK in a foreign country. It feels very different being in a country that is one of our overseas territories, part of the British family, and therefore we have a very kind of special relationship with the Cayman Islands.
So understand that we have yourself as a governor, a premier that we vote for, and a deputy governor. So what are the differences between all their roles?
Yes, so my role as governor, I'm officially the head of state, representing His Majesty King Charles. Then the deputy governor, Frans Manderson, is there to work very closely in partnership with me. Governors tend to come to this territory for about 4 years, whereas the deputy governor would typically be there for much longer, and obviously is Caymanian, so provides quite a lot of continuity. And the deputy governor also is primarily responsible for the civil service, so all of those public servants working across all of the different ministries and putting in place the policies of the government. Whereas in a parliamentary democracy like Cayman, then you've also got the Premier and his cabinet of ministers and all of the parliamentarians, and all of those people are of course elected by the people. So when you get to be I guess it's 18 here, you will be able to vote for these people as well, and they are the cabinet and the government who are putting in place most of our laws and most of our decisions on what happens here in Cayman. I should also add that as governor, I do have some specific responsibilities that I take really seriously for things like defence and external affairs. But the most important ones I see are security. So that means the internal security, working very closely with the police commissioner and the Coast Guard and people like that. And also I have responsibility for good governance, which is probably something that your listeners don't think about that much, but it's an incredibly important thing in a democracy to think about how are we using our powers to govern the country, and are we doing that right in an appropriate way? How are people interacting? How are people behaving? And that's very important to me as well.
So the governor is in charge of the king and in charge of the police and in charge of security. And the premier is in the head of law. And then the deputy governor is kind of like a second governor. But
yeah, when I'm not here, the deputy governor does step in and he then becomes the acting governor. Yes. So if you imagine the cabinet led by the premier and all of the issues they are dealing with day by day, which might be around education, your schools, transport, health, environment, the economy, all of those things are decided upon by the Premier working with his elected ministers in those different government departments.
Thank you for explaining. That helped a lot. So, like you said, we are in touch with the king and we're territory of England. So, what type of government do we have?
So I would say it's a parliamentary democracy within this framework of this very important partnership of the overseas territory relationship that we have between the United Kingdom and Cayman. There are 14 UK overseas territories around the world.
So I understand that you recently became governor in April.
Yes.
So are there any goals for the rest of your term as governor?
Yes, I mean, I think I have lots of goals, and I've talked a little bit about this, particularly in terms of making sure that I take my responsibilities for security and good governance very seriously, and that I'm doing that in partnership with the government. But more broadly, I think my objective is to make sure that this fantastic partnership that we have, that it is working brilliantly and serving everybody in Cayman. So it's really, really important for me that I'm working in partnership with not only my deputy governor, with the attorney general, who we haven't mentioned yet, and with the whole of cabinet. It's a great pleasure every week to be chairing the cabinet meeting. So as you probably know, the cabinet meeting is held each week, and it's where Premier Wayne Panton gets together with the 7 other ministers who are responsible for different bits of business. So we sit around a table. We also have the Deputy Governor and the Attorney General in the room, and I chair these meetings. So even though many of these areas it is not for me to lead on, if we're talking about education in schools, for example, it's still very interesting to get an overview of the huge span of work that the Cabinet is dealing with every single week.
Thank you for sharing. And you answered all my questions. So, and thank you for joining the Phoenix Zone.
Thank you very much, Phoenix.
I'm very grateful that I got the opportunity to interview Her Excellency, the Governor. Thank you for joining the Phoenix Zone, and please like and subscribe.